Here, you're ready for your dose of reality.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dr. Quack podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack, and
I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, and today is our second video on our road to WrestleMania, WrestleMania 5.
That's right, the Mega Powers explode!
And I must say, when we get to that match, the explosion was epic.
It was definitely...
I'm going to even say this pay-per-view, compared to some of the other garbage we've recently had to watch, this was a breath of fresh air. There's only a couple things in here that even come close to being considered garbage.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely top-notch. This was when, you know, the WWF was really at their prime in the 80s. You could really see this. 3 started it, 4 kind of helped it, you know, but 5, it really cemented how it was really going.
Yeah, so we're back again at Trump Towers for WrestleMania 5. Then we were there for WrestleMania 4. If you didn't miss or if you missed our WrestleMania 4, which, by the way, please go check it out. But we're back here 2 years in a row at the Trump Towers.
That's right. You can click on the button right on top there in the upper left corner. I'm sorry, upper right corner, and check that out. But anyways, so we're at the Trump Plaza. We had Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary.
And they really did a good part of helping carry the WWF through the 80s. Just their banter, their commentary. Jesse Ventura, entertaining as could be. He got a movie career going basically because of sitting next to Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah, they did a really great job on that. And on color commentary, we got our lovable quadruplet here. Mean Gene Okerlund, Tony Schiavone, Sean Mooney, and Lord Alfred Hayes.
I'm sorry, this is one of the few low points talking about Lord Alfred Hayes and Sean Mooney. Again, Tony Schiavone, the WWF figured out that he belongs in the backstage segments doing interviews, not belonging in front of the commentary. Obviously, Tony Schiavone didn't like that, so, you know, Tony Schiavone, you were your own worst enemy. Get over yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, they were doing a good job, I felt, you know, as far as, you know, Sean Mooney, he doesn't get enough credit on some of these, but I'm going to give him, he gives a little bit of credit here to him.
That's true. He does show how bad Lord Alfred Hayes really is.
Yes. Rockin' Robin singing the national anthem, the first time a women's world champion actually did that.
I'm not going to bash this too much. Rockin' Robin was a stand-in, I believe. I don't think she was the original person scheduled for this. She's not horrible, but she just doesn't have a refined singing voice. She's kind of more just kind of sings in a church choir. So I'm not going to bash this too much. I don't think she did great compared to the WrestleMania 4 where we got a tremendous rendition. Yeah. But I think she still did a passable job at the last minute, so I'm not going to say much more than that.
Yeah, I think she did fine. Opening match here, King Haku taking on the mighty Hercules.
We have destroyed at length Hercules Hernandez. But in my WrestleMania 4 review, I did say there was a Hercules Hernandez match that I really, truly enjoyed. This is that match. Hercules and King Haku had tremendous chemistry together. Maybe from their time together in the Heenan family, whatever the reason is. These guys had tremendous chemistry. The power slam towards the end is how I modeled my power slam in my wrestling career after Hercules Hernandez. So while I destroy him at length, I don't have everything bad to say about him. I do have a few good things. And I'm even going 3 1/4 stars. This was a great opener.
He went high on this one. See, me, I went a little bit lower. I gave it 2.5. I thought it was a good, solid matchup. It was a good power versus martial arts in there with that savate kick. You know, I loved it. You know, just a simple storyline of, you know, Hercules trying to get back at Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yes, yes. But like I said, this is one. The story was good. There was no botches. They really just put on a really good opening match. They really felt the need to step up, and I think they did very well.
Yeah, this was a very solid match there. Moving along here, we got the Twin Towers going against the Rockers.
If you've never seen this match, pause the commentary here and go watch this match. Watching Akeem squash Shawn Michaels is awesome. I mean, and I'm not saying anything bad about Shawn Michaels. I'm not saying anything good about Akeem. I'm just saying the camera angle, the way that Shawn Michaels took it,
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, this was very young Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, just came over from the AWA as the Midnight Rockers. I mean, they did a good job in this match. Of course, the Twin Towers squashed them. I gave it another 2.5.
I went with 2.5 on this as well. It was a fun little match. There were some decent spots. This really was kind of, again, what you always refer to as the bathroom or popcorn match. The second match in that for those people that rushed in to catch the first match, and then they got to grab their popcorn or their concessions or go to the restroom. That's usually where this match is, but you still missed a good, fun match.
Yeah, it was very solid. I mean, I felt like it was a good setting of the table. It just continued it down here.
Yes.
The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, taking on Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
I've always never been a big Brutus the Barber Beefcake fan. I liked him better as Brutus Beefcake in the Dream Team. I've always been my big knock on Brutus the Barber, or Brutus Beefcake himself, is Brutus Beefcake is only as talented as the person he's in the ring with. If he's in the ring with Leaping Lanny Poffo, you're going to get a horrible match. If he's in the ring with Ted DiBiase like this match, you get a 3-star match, which is what I rated this match. It ended in a double countout, but it was a lot of fun. The match was good back and forth. It showed that Beefcake can work when he's got somebody in there that knows how to work with him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. 3-star match for me. It went to a double countout. I mean, it was a good fight set up there, and you seen Virgil really starting to get angry with the $1 Million Man. You started to see that a little bit.
Yeah, they just really planted the seeds. They hadn't even really germinated yet. Just started planting the seeds of Virgil becoming separate from the $1 Million Man.
Yeah. I mean, moving on down the line, the All-American Boys. Yeah, the Rougeau brothers taking on the Bushwhackers.
They've had this match before. I think we reviewed it when we, the Royal Albert Hall match. Didn't they work together?
Yeah, the Royal Rumble.
Or the Rumble, yeah. So these guys have some good chemistry. They had a lot of fun. They went back with a good comedy opening match, again, after the intensity of Beefcake and Ted DiBiase. The crowd needed a little bit of fun. This was a good example of that. It wasn't anything special, but it was just flat fun. 2.5. Fun match, interesting to watch, and a little rib. For those of you inside the wrestling business, watch the body slam. You'll know what we mean by the rib.
Yeah, I mean, I went the same, 2.5. Like, you know, I love the match. I love when these guys work. You know, I felt like, you know, they actually had something here that they could build down the line. They did that.
And it's funny just thinking about it in retrospect. Like you said, the All-American Boys, the Rougeaus were from Canada, and the Sheep Herders, or the Bushwhackers, were from New Zealand. So it's 4 teams who all became United States citizens later on, fighting. At that time, they were all 4 from out of the country, and they were all 4 claiming to be heroes of America. So it was a really fun in the backstage information about this match. But again, very fun match, worth watching.
Yeah. Blue Blazer taking on Mr. Perfect.
Yes, for the 2 to 3 people that didn't know this, the Blue Blazer is Owen Hart. I'm sure there's a couple of people that did not know this. So
yeah.
Blue Blazer, Owen Hart against Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig. 2 tremendous tacticians in the ring. Curt Hennig, a former world champion. Blue Blazer, who before his tragic passing should have been a world champion. In fact, Blue Blazer's in our Champion That Never Was tournament, so if you haven't been following that, check that out as well.
Yeah.
But this match was just a clinic of technical wrestling, storytelling, timing, pacing. 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, this was definitely high on my list. I went 3.5. I felt like this match here really amped up the crowd. This is what kept them in their seats instead of going to the concession stands.
Well, then they had the match to go to the concession stands, or the segment, let's put it the segment, the Wrestlemania Rap.
Yeah.
Run DMC came out here and did a rap about wrestling in the 80s and how wrestling was going. Vince had started trying to branch out for celebrities, trying to bring different crowds in. At this time, the wrestling was mostly seen as a southern white wrestling sport across the entire wrestling community. So Vince was trying to bring in people from other backgrounds, other walks of life to get a feel for wrestling. But unfortunately, this was not the way to do it.
Yeah, I liked it personally because it was Run DMC. I mean, you're talking old school 80s rap. That is definitely who
I'm not against Run DMC in any way, shape, or form. I think Run DMC was the right choice. But the question is, the acoustics were horrible.
Yes.
The video cuts were horrible. You couldn't understand the microphones. A couple times the feedback from the speakers. My whole question is, why? If this is what you want to try and bring in, why did you hire somebody so incompetent to run your sound for that particular segment?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the crowd was into it. They were pretty happy. Their live crowd was.
Maybe the live crowd could understand them, but we sure couldn't listening to it on television. 1.5 stars. I should give it 2, but I'm only going to give it 1.5 because while it was very important to bring other segments of the culture into the wrestling culture, this was not the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it 2 stars. I felt like it was a solid effort, but yeah, the acoustics on it were not that great as far as on the video trying to watch. But moving on here, Dino Bravo with Frenchie Morton taking on Ronnie Garvin.
Yeah, we might as well get this one out of the way, and then we'll bounce back to the other match here that you missed. But you know what? I'm just going to get it out of the way.
Testicle Tuesday.
Yeah, you got that spot there. Thank you.
Rugged Ronnie Garvin and Dino Bravo. You suck! This match sucked! This was basically a squash match on WrestleMania. I don't get what they were trying to go for. I don't get what they intended to do. I think this was just to embarrass Frenchie Morton because he left shortly after this.
He did.
Other than that, this match served no purpose. This match should have been reviewed by Craig DeGeorge on Sunday Morning Slam. Good God. 1 star. That's all I have to say about it. 1 star.
Yeah, I went a little bit higher. I went 1.5. I mean, he pretty much said it all right there, folks. I'm going to pretty much endorse what he's saying.
I feel the need to spray it again, but I'm not going to. Because we're going to go back to what was actually a good, fun match. The Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji taking on Demolition for the tag team titles.
Yeah. That match there, that was incredible. I loved watching it.
It was a lot of fun, and they had a nice little fun package that Mr. Fuji showed up. WrestleMania, for those of you that were not familiar, is like a week-long event. They have a lot of different things that they do to encourage other fans to maybe check out the wrestling show. And one of the things they do was a 5K run. Or they used to do it. They don't do it anymore. It was a 5K run. And Mr. Fuji showed up out there with Lord Alfred Hayes, and Fuji's running around with carrying his cane, wearing his tuxedo and his bowler derby, and he took off running, and he comes in, runs back like he hadn't ran anywhere. He probably really didn't. But it was a fun
little taxi cab around the corner. That's what Monsoon said.
But it was a fun little way to show that Fuji wasn't going to be a weak link, and it was enjoyable to watch. That Lord Alfred Hayes was the right person for this because Lord Alfred Hayes is so goofy that he upstages Mr. Fuji.
Yeah, I mean, Demolition ended up coming out on top on this, hitting their tag team move, that elbow off the top.
Yep, and this was the match that put them as being the longest reigning WWF Tag Team Champions before the New Day took it away. They still held it for another 4 months after this. But this was the point where they set the record for being the longest reigning Tag Team Champions prior to the New Day.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great match. I loved how Fuji just went for the salt. He came out from his trunks and he threw it at the camera. Or the camera, yeah.
Yeah, well, camera, Warlord, same person.
Yeah, might as well have been.
I gave it 2 3/4 stars. Fuji, still for being in his late 50s, early 60s at this time, still looked decent. Demolition just looked awesome. So 2 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I gave this three stars right there. I felt like this was a high point for the show. I felt like this match was really worth watching.
Yes, it was definitely worth watching.
Yeah, and you had the Brain Busters going up against Strikeforce.
This match, very historically significant in the late 80s, early 90s of World Wrestling Federation. Tito Santana would shortly thereafter be packaged as the Matador because of this match. Rick Martel was no longer Rick Martel, but he became the model Rick Martel after this match. The Brain Busters continued on to their dominant ways.
Yeah.
I wish they would have stayed longer in World Wrestling Federation, even though I wanted to see them as the Horsemen.
I remember, watching this as a kid and being so emotional and mad at Rick Martel because I loved that team. I really did. I was getting behind him as a little kid, and he just turned right on Tito Santana, and I was so mad.
Yes, and this match, even with that all the stuff that happened on the side, this was still a great storytelling match. 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I went with that. Yeah, I'm about 3 stars there. I felt like this was, a good follow through as far as continuing on to set this table because this pay-per-view was really good overall.
Yes, and we've bashed segments that were talk segments as didn't belong on pay-per-views. They belonged on Superstars or on All American Wrestling. We're getting to a talk segment that actually did belong there, and it was one of the highest points of the whole show.
Yes.
So we've got Brother Love, the guy with the white suit and the red shirt and the red face, Ted DiBiase.
I love you!
Who was Ted DiBiase, being benefacted by Ted DiBiase with taking on Morton Downey Jr., who was a talk show host. For those of you who are not familiar with Morton Downey Jr., he was known as The Mouth. He came out, he did a talk show, he was the poor man's Geraldo Rivera, would kind of be the way to describe him in the 80s. And they battled Roddy Piper on a Piper's Pit segment.
Yeah, and Piper's Pit, is definitely legendary throughout the years. This was no different here. The funniest part of this was seeing Brother Love in a kilt. Well, in a dress, I really should say.
They did a good job. Howard Finkel did a really good job of swerving us in the beginning, of announcing all of Piper's accolades. Hit the bagpipe music and Brother Love comes walking to the ring. I remember being, man, I got on with Brother Love. And it was 18 minutes and it felt like it only went about 5. This thing was fun.
Yeah, Piper had him by the skirt there, and he's like, Mr. Body, Mr. Roddy!
Great, hilarious segment. It's worth watching again, even if you've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, it's a good laugh.
I gave this segment 4 stars.
Yes, I'm in total agreement with that. 4 stars for this. If you're going to do a segment on a WrestleMania, this is how it's done. Don't forget Morton Downey Jr. over there, right? Don't forget he's out there smoking the cigarettes in his face, and then he got hit with a fire extinguisher.
Oh yeah,
that was the most greatest thing on that whole segment too.
Yeah.
You seen him get nailed by that.
Even though it was really obvious that was set up and planted, it still was a great payoff.
Yes.
And now we go into I kind of went away from using this a few times. I'm going to bring it back. We get our Geico match clap of the night. They bring us the preview of No Holds Barred.
No holds barred!
And if this isn't getting your 2-finger salute, I hate to see what is.
Oh, it's coming. Trust me. It is coming.
Oh my God. We have destroyed No Holds Barred on here, so I don't think we need to belabor this anymore. All I'm going to say to Vince McMahon is, stop it!
Dookie!
Oh.
You know you love that movie. You want to watch it again. I can tell.
Yeah, you're right. I like getting poison oak all over my butt.
Yeah, thank God. Let's move along here. Andre the Giant taking on Jake the Snake Roberts as Big John Studd was a special guest referee.
Yes, and again, this match took place in 1989. Andre died in 1993, so he's just under 4 years. He was really struggling at this point.
Yeah.
So they put him in really easy feuds with guys like Jake Roberts. And this match, while was not very good for the legacy of Andre, as in he was now showing fear, it was still fun to watch. It was still, the crowd was entertained, especially after watching No Holds Barred preview. So I don't want to crush on Andre's legacy. 2.5 stars. It was a lot of fun to see, and they worked the bag and the snake in very well in this match to really make it mean something.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it 2.5. Jake won by DQ, but it was just like Jesse Ventura said. It's like we had an extra match added because Andre the Giant and John Studd got into it, and Andre was just choking him out with that whole strap of his, like he loves to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very solid match. It helped set the table. Like I said, this is a very good show.
And this was pretty much the last time we saw John Studd on World Wrestling Federation television.
Yeah, it was. And, man, truly missed. Yeah, moving on down the line. Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine versus the Hart Foundation. This was pre-Boxcar, by the way.
That's what I was just about to say. This is pre-Rhythm and Blues, so Greg Valentine still had blonde hair.
Yeah.
And I will say, when we finally get to covering Rhythm and Blues, when Gorilla Monsoon is making fun of Greg Valentine and calling him Boxcar, that angle was dead on arrival. But these guys were a decent group together when Greg Valentine had blonde hair. And they were a good foil against the Hart Foundation. These are all guys who were consummate professionals. They worked well together. It was a great match to see. But it was not anything special. It was just a really solid match. This really, if Raw or SmackDown would have been alive at this time, this match really would have main evented a Raw or a SmackDown instead of being on this pay-per-view. But it was still a good match. It was still worth seeing, and I did give it 2 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I went along those lines. I gave it 2.5. The Hart Foundation went over. I really loved watching this match for the whole technical skill of the Hitman.
Yes, and him and Greg Valentine, they didn't work a lot together in singles matches. I think that would have been a really great story and feud.
Definitely. And now we're moving on to my Quack Attack! The Ultimate Warrior defending the Intercontinental title against Ravishing Rick Rude.
This was a lot of fun. They really put over that. For those of you that were not familiar, Bobby Heenan in his first 2 to 3 years in the World Wrestling Federation, they really made a lot of fun of, and they kind of held him back. I don't know why. I don't know what the reasoning was behind that. Because he had managed Nick Bockwinkel to several world titles in the AWA.
They didn't want to acknowledge the AWA.
Well, that's true too. But they really started Bobby out from the bottom. They basically... He was the managing equivalent of the Jobber to the Stars. And they really put over, he had never got a title, and to give it away, Rick Rude wins the Intercontinental title, and they really celebrated. Gorilla did a lot of good kudos of congratulations to Bobby for winning his first title.
Yeah, and as a wrestler, you know, I really appreciated Rude's selling because the Warrior in the beginning came off strong in this match, and you felt like this was going to be a squash in 5 minutes because the Warrior's just beating the crap out of him. At the beginning, the Warrior Rude tried to get up and hit the Warrior in the gut, but he had the Intercontinental title on.
Yep, and he sold that knee like a champ.
Yes,
and he's right. Rude got thrown all over the place. They really teased that this was going to be a short match. That's what the commentary team put over. And then watching Rick Rude try and get suplexed back into the ring by the Warrior, and Bobby Heenan pulling the leg and holding the leg down, and the referee didn't see it for the win. A lot of fun. My original note here is 2 3/4, but as more as I talk about it, the more I'm thinking about it, I'm going to up it to 3 stars. Great Great story, great telling match.
I went high on this. I went 4 stars on this match. I felt like if you're going to talk about definition of an Intercontinental title match, this is probably among the tops I've ever seen.
And that's fair. I would agree with that. I'm still only going 3 stars, but I agree. Because this match was not as strong as a few of the things on this. If it would have probably been more of a showcase on its own pay-per-view, this probably would have got a 4-star for me, but as it is, it was just chock on a pay-per-view that was chock full of great matches.
And it was good to see Bobby get his Intercontinental title. He finally got his championship. Good job, Bobby Heenan. Now moving on here. Bad News Brown taking on Hacksaw Jim Duggan. This was a slugfest.
That it was.
2 brawlers just going at each other.
This is another one of those that my notes say, why? And the only thing I can come up with, because the next match after this, Bobby Heenan needed time to change.
Yeah.
Because Bobby Heenan was out in his managerial jacket and shirt and pants for Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. And then the next match coming up after that, Bobby Heenan's in the ring wrestling. So I think the only reason this match existed was to give Bobby Heenan time to change clothes.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great fight. You know, it was a double DQ. I gave it 2 stars. I just felt like, you know, it was what it was. It was a, you know, good old brawl. It was to get the crowd pumped up with Duggan coming out there. Oh, you know.
Yeah, I gave it 1.5, but I can see why 2 stars, because you're right, it was a very hard-hitting match. I just felt Duggan's bumping style, he doesn't bump on his back. He kind of rolls onto his hip and then rolls onto his back. I think that almost takes away from some of the impact of Bad News Brown's punches, that he didn't take them properly, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
Shut up, director. We're not done yet.
We're almost there. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good match. You know, as far as, the, you know, trying to get the crowd raised up, I mean, I felt like it was solid. But moving along here, this gets my 2-finger salutes.
Yeah, do it again. I want to hear it again.
Yeah. And this doesn't go to Bobby the Brain Heenan because, you know, he did his best here. But this goes to his opponent, the Red Rooster. Really, it was a garbage match, you know, in general. The only way you can get a win is to beat a manager at Mania. I mean, granted, it's one more win than Coco Beware because he went winless. But still, you get my 2-finger salute for that.
And this was... Terry Taylor was managed by Bobby Heenan, and this is where he decided he wanted to keep the gimmick. I don't know if that was for company reasons or because Terry Taylor is just an idiot. I think a little both, because Terry Taylor...
Reasons!
Because Terry Taylor does still work for World Wrestling Entertainment. It may have been a company reason. I don't know. I really don't care. But I give it 2 stars because at least Bobby Heenan took that post like a trooper.
Yeah, he did. And the Brooklyn Brawler, you know, needs to be mentioned here because he came down to manage, you know, Bobby the Brain during this. Yes. And, you know, after the match, he did a little bit of fighting, and Terry, you know, of course, whooped up on him. But, I mean, overall, it was like, why, man? I mean, why?
No, reasons. Exactly.
Oh, my God. I mean, that definitely deserves my 2-finger salute here.
Yes.
Moving on here.
And I hope our new editor will take the hint here and put some angelic music up here for this main event.
Yes.
Because this match was awesome. As we said at the beginning of this video, the Mega Powers explode, and it was incredible. Well, we're there. The Mega Powers explode.
They explode! Yeah, I swear, Vince McMahon, that was the one thing he was good at, about the deep voice on promoting something.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, throughout that whole 4 to 5, talking about WrestleMania 4 to 5, you saw the story slowly building. Macho Man getting jealous of Hulk Hogan over here a little bit with Elizabeth, you know. Yes. And the big storyline, the headlines I remember reading as a kid was, can Elizabeth hold the Mega Powers together, or will she be the reason they explode?
And the after magazines, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, they really did a good job of pushing this as well. Of just the whole, is she going to go with Hogan? Is she going to go with Savage? Is Savage jealousy going to bring him down? Will Hulk Hogan's lust for Elizabeth bring him down? They just went all through the gamut of this.
Yeah, and what corner did Miss Elizabeth go in?
None.
She went in a neutral corner. She didn't want to be. She wanted to be in both men's corner.
And she stayed away the whole time. She didn't go and celebrate with Hogan afterwards either.
Yeah, this was when, Superstars or Wrestling Challenge or something like that, a show you would look forward to on Saturdays around noon, and you would go, all right, what's going to happen here? What's the lead up? And man, it kept you entertained. Good job on them Saturday morning shows, by the way. But yeah, this match here was definitely top notch. It was among the greatest matches I ever seen. I gave this 4.5 stars.
Yeah, this match went 22 minutes and pulled a great thing out of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was not known for his endurance, but a great match. Unfortunately, I only could give it 4 stars, and I'm going to give it 4 stars for one reason only.
What's that?
It's been commonly known that Randy Savage would rehearse big matches for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, while we've never wrestled Randy Savage, and we've never been there, and there's no video evidence of this, there's enough people that have talked about it. So, while this match was incredible and a 4.5-star performance, the fact that they rehearsed it for weeks brings it down to a 4-star match because it was not organic. The atmosphere should have made this a 4.5-star match, but the rehearsal brings it to me down to a 4.
Like, I remember Hogan getting busted over the eye, and, Gorilla's like, his right eye, and they kept saying, check it, because they had a match over there before. I believe it was Jerry Lawler and Kerry Von Erich, where Jerry Lawler won his title when he was getting his butt kicked, and Von Erich was completely bloodied, and they ended up keeping that title.
That was the AWA World Class Merging title.
Yes.
That was not supposed to happen. Kerry Von Erich was supposed to win that. But Kerry Von Erich had a cut, and the referee was a real old-school referee, and he stopped the match, even though he wasn't supposed to.
Right, and they didn't stop this here. They let this go. Macho Man even dropping the elbow on Hogan, and Hogan kicked out. That was one of the first people to ever do that.
But I will say, Hogan did it right. He took the long 2.5. He didn't do it like he did with Vader's powerbomb and immediately stand up. He let Savage's move mean something, and then just hulked up afterwards and kicked out of it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if it wouldn't have been a rehearsed, if this would have been a truly organic match, this would have been a 4.5, 4 and 3-star classic. But because it was rehearsed, I could only give it 4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I love this pay-per-view in general, because where we're going next, we're going to the ionosphere and the stratosphere and all the other fears out there. Oh my God.
Calm down, Warrior.
Yeah, WrestleMania 6. Get ready for that, folks. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. Check us out next week as we continue on the road to WrestleMania. And hopefully we can keep the Warrior in check to get through this pay-per-view.
Yeah! And I'm out.